Hey everyone, what's up? It's Startup Survival here, and I'm going to be comparing the Spyderco Delica FFG versus the Byrd Meadowlark 2. These are very similar knives in certain ways, and I think they do invite being compared to each other, much like the Endura and the Byrd Caracar 2. I don't actually own the Meadowlark. This is on loan to me right now, but I do own the Endura and the Caracar 2 as well as the Delica, so I think I can probably compare these two knives with some sort of experience, even though I haven't carried the Meadowlark yet. This is on loan to me from a good friend, and I'm just going to knock out a review right now comparing this with the Delica, because like I said, I do think they invite a similar kind of comparison. Similar knives, just slightly different materials, different country of manufacture, and different price points, but in actual usage, in function, I think that these knives are very similar to each other. So let's just get into the differences and see which one might work best for you if you're on the fence between buying these two knives. So the Delica is a very classic Spyderco knife. It's been around for a number of years. This is the Delica 4. So there's been, I would say, 5 generations before this, or 4 generations anyways. I've never seen a Delica 1 or 2. I've seen a 3 before, and there's no steel liners in there. I believe the pocket clip was a molded plastic next to the handle. There was no jimping as well. But other than that, and they used to be saber ground. So I mean, this has evolved a lot over the years. And they had a Delica 4 that was similar to this as well, only in a black handle and a saber ground blade. And that was extremely popular. I think that knife existed for a few years before this one came out. And of course now they have all the different colored handles, which I think is so cool actually, because I like colors. And what else can I show you here? I got one more. Sorry, I'm just digging it out. I should have had this ready, but here's a brown one, and I just think the brown and the green look so cool together. So that's something nice about the Delicas, is you will get the option to have different colored handles, and I think that's wonderful. Sorry, I don't know if this is a complete versus. I mean, it's not a fair fight video, but I'll leave 2 Delicas in there. They're gonna beat up this Meadowlark together. So let's just switch over to the Meadowlark for a second. The handle is also very good actually. So you don't have the option of colors, but the grippiness of the handle, there's jimping up here. You know, you got that bi-directional sort of volcano grip handle, the same as the Delica, just sort of a different pattern, but the function of course is the same. And yeah, I like the handle. I think I like the Delica handle just a little better. I'm not sure why, but it just fits my hand a little better, I think. And maybe it's just a little longer, if I'm not totally crazy here. I don't know, they look incredibly similar, but I don't know, I just like the way the Delica handle feels a bit better. The one thing that's cool about the Meadowlark actually though, is you can have a couple different grips on there, right? Because you can either choke up or you can choke back. And a lot of people think or seem to prefer this secondary choil. And it's become actually very popular on Spyderco knives. What can I show you? I'll show you the Sage 1 here. You got the double choil as well. I don't know, what I can say about that is in an EDC blade, I do prefer it. Here's of course the persistence without it. Still perfectly ergonomic, great knife, but some people like the secondary choil, right? Some people see this as a more evolved design because you have the option on how to hold it. I don't know, whatever. I prefer the Delica in just overall ergonomics, but I don't mind this at all. To me, this knife feels a little thicker than the Delica. I don't know if that is just a illusion or what, but to me it feels just a little thicker. I don't know, I prefer the ergonomics of the Delica, but that's just me. So what else can we say? They are both lockbacks. I think lockbacks are a great mechanism. I have no problem with it. In terms of reliability and strength, I think it's just as good as a liner lock or, you know, some other lock designs. I don't know where it fits into the overall spectrum. I'm not an engineer, so I haven't like hard tested every single lock mechanism to like see what will happen or whatever. But lockbacks I think are very good overall. Unlike a triad lock, there's no stop pins, so the lock bar meets directly with the blade tang. And I think that if you put this into hard use, if you baton it, it can deform that sort of the marriage of the lock and the tang of the knife. So I think that when you really put hard use on it, you can develop blade play fairly easily in lockbacks. The other thing that I've heard is if this sort of contact area is dirty, it can cause a failure. So I don't know, man. I've never had a lockback fail on me. I think they're great knives. When I first got lockbacks, I found that I wasn't able to open it super fast. Obviously, I've overcome that now, but I find that if you're like new to knives, liner locks are very fast to open. You can get the hang of that very easily. There's a little bit more resistance with a lockback, because you see it snaps back into the handle, and that's one of the reasons people like lockbacks actually, is because they retain well in the handle, whereas a liner lock relies on a ball detent, and I think that can, can be manufactured badly or well. It depends, but there's been videos of people who cut themselves with liner locks and the blade did not retain the handle. Never had that issue personally, but some people do. So anyways, a lot of people like the lockback. It's an old, tried and true lock mechanism, and I like it too. So pocket clip, let's talk about that just for a second. I realize the irony of doing a knife review and not even talking about the blade until, however many minutes in, but we're getting there. Keep the faith. So the pocket clips are incredibly similar. I have a preference for the black one just because it doesn't draw attention to the carrier. However, I don't know. I mean, in function, I would say they're extremely similar. I just kind of like the looks of the black one. Plus, the black one has the Spyderco logo on it. That's one good thing about the Delica, actually, is I find in terms of wear and tear, what I can speak to on the Delica, this knife is probably 4 years old or so, maybe 5. This one is probably a year old, and to me they look exactly the same, except for the pocket clip. That's the only way you can tell the difference, because you can see the older one shows the wear and tear a little bit more. But other than that, it seems like a brand new knife to me. It's awesome. The durability is spectacular on these knives. What I would say though about the clip on the Chinese-made Meadowlark, although I haven't personally carried that knife, I have carried the Caracara 2 a lot. And what happened to me one time in Mexico on a boat, because I took this to Mexico with me, along with the Tenacious. Those are my go-tos while I lived there for 6 months. And they were both awesome. But I ended up preferring this knife, to be honest with you. And I think I like it so much because it's so slim and light and quite large, actually. But what I found actually one day is I was carrying it in the pocket, and I also had a backpack, and the backpack got snagged on the clip or something like that, and it pulled it out and the clip bent like this. So the knife, I couldn't carry it anymore that day until I got home at the end of the day, and I used my multi-tool or something like bend it back, but the clip bent. And I mean, it might have just as easily happened to the Delica, but I don't know, maybe a slightly weaker clip. I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the steel it's made of or the attachment. Don't know, but most of the time that clip just works perfectly. I think it's great. So now let's talk about the steel and like the deployment. You can deploy it slow or fast, whatever you want, either or kind of thing. I don't know, can we do a middle finger flick? Yeah, we can. A little bit of wrist action required. Very smooth, actually, for a Chinese-made knife in the sub $30 price range. I think this is around $25. Delicas are probably 3 times more expensive these days, so that's something to keep in mind. So if you're saying to yourself, man, I don't know about that Meadowlark, I just want a Delica. They're great knives, absolutely. They are more expensive, though. That's something to keep in mind, because this is made in Japan, and I think that the difference in pricing with knives principally comes down to blade steel. After a lot of experience buying knives, that's more or less what I've come to believe. When you add in like an S30V or a VG10 over something like like an AUS 8 or an 8CR13 MOV, you turn like a $40 knife, a $25 knife, you turn it into a $75, $80, like $90 or a $100 knife, $100 plus knife. This is probably $150 actually these days with taxes and everything in Canada. This is a very classic, tried and true knife design. Excellent materials. The VG10, I really like that steel. I find I'm able to get it super sharp again after I probably sharpened this knife 5 or 10 times now over the last few years, and I'm able to get it to a nice sharpness level. I don't know if I'll be able to demonstrate that, and I might embarrass myself here, but we'll see. No, so that's no longer a factory edge. That's an edge I put back on it, and it's good to go. Factory edge, I think this one is still factory edge, I believe, and maybe a hair sharper, but not a lot. The edge on this Meadowlark, actually, my friend has ground down to be like I don't know if this is like a partial convex grind, but he's basically removed the bevel, the factory bevel on there, and made it sort of a more gradual transition to the cutting edge. And Yeah, it's sharp too, but there is actually a substantial chip out of this blade. I don't know if I'll be able to show that to you on camera or not. I'm going to try to demonstrate it. Yeah, you can see it right there. There's a significant chip out of that blade, and I don't know what he cut with that. I wonder if it was like a zip tie or something maybe. Who knows? But anyways, apparently 8CR13 MOV can chip out on you. I'm sure with you know, a few more sharpenings you could probably get that out. But here's why I wanted to show you that. I mean, any blade can chip, I think, in theory. But why that is relevant is because maybe you're going to cut things with the Meadowlark that you wouldn't cut with the Delica because of the price point. And I think that that is something important to keep in mind. Especially when we start to talk about people who are heavy users or hard users of their knives. Maybe having a $150 knife is not for you because you may lose the knife or you may abuse the knife. And if you're going to abuse the knife, abuse something cheap. If you're going to lose something cheap. If you're somebody that takes good care of your knives and you know you don't lose your knives, sure, you know, upgrade to a cool knife. Why not? Or get a Delica. You know what I mean? Like if you think you're going to have this knife for 5 years or 10 years, what is $75 over a 10-year span? That's nothing, right? But if you're somebody that's going to beat their knives up, if you think you might lose it or you need to abuse it for whatever reason in the course of your work, you know, a Meadowlark might be a great option. One of the last things I'll say is, yeah, you got the bird's eye hole here instead of the classic spider hole. I prefer the spider hole too. I think most people do because it's symbolic of the Spyderco design. It's a trademark. So I think a lot of people who are going to buy a Spyderco product, which the Byrd is, I think they want a real Spyderco. So some people might say to themselves, "Oh, why would I ever get a Byrd knife?" What I say about that, though, is that the Byrd knives and also the sort of tenacious family knives from Spyderco represent excellent value. Some of the best value in the industry, if you ask me. You know, if I was to compare these two knives, which one do I like better? I don't know. The Meadowlark just seems slightly chunky to me. I don't know. I just feel like the Delica is a slightly better package, but between this and the Persistence, don't know. I don't know. I think it's a toss-up. It's whichever one you like better. You got the G10 on this. They're both made in China. Same blade steel, probably same factory for all we know, right? The difference is lock, of course. Some people like the liner lock better. Some people hate it because if you spine whack it, you can make that thing pop. But I don't know, man. I like both, but maybe I like this one a little better just because it's a real Spyderco. My first Spyderco was a tenacious, incidentally, and this one's a little smaller, but same kind of ballpark. Anyways, the purpose of this video, as I recall, was to compare the Delica and the Meadowlark. So what it all comes down to at the end is in function they perform a very similar role. You're going to pay a lot more for a Japanese made with a VG10, you know, with a colored handle. You're going to pay 3 times as much. Is that good value? I say yes. I like the Delica. I think it's a great value. But if you're budget oriented, you know, which I guess everybody is at some point or another, these Chinese made Byrd knives are pretty much awesome. Like I said, I've had the Caracara, love it. One of my most highly recommended knives for sure. The Meadowlark I think will have a similar fit and finish and quality, and I can attest to that. I think it's great. Made in China, 8CR13 MOV. Yes, it will rust. If you use this knife in the kitchen repeatedly or something like that, you will start to develop rust on it. You got to take care of it. VG10 I think is better in that category in terms of rust resistance, but whatever. Anyways, I think that the Meadowlark is a great little knife. Never owned one personally, but while I have one in the house, I just thought I would show it to you on video and let you check it out, versus the Delica, which is of course one of my most favorite knives of all time. Love the Delica. Thanks for watching.